Nana said, put on your hat. Written and illustrated by Aurora.
Thank you guys for participating today and joining the Read Aloud and Adult Discussion. Today's book is one of my books. Nana said, put on your hat. It's still in production, so I'm going to take in all your comments and feedback and maybe change before we go into full production. I really appreciate your time and all the comments, all the criticism. To me, it's all positive and constructive. We talk about children's books and children's themed media so that we can relate the messages that we're getting from this media to better assist our children in their development and understanding of the world around them and improve literacy overall for our early learners. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to get new information and content from Aurora. I'm going to be sharing our video read aloud today that my daughter has graciously done for us. What did you guys think?
I love it. Oh my God.
It's
I'm going
great.
to be
It's
first
great.
to speak. Okay. Great intonation, the way that she pronounced everything, her voice went up and down. I was already going to get a book anyway, but just hearing her read the book, it's like I wanted even more. She sounds so adorable. She brought your book to life. It was amazing.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I feel the same. I'm like, how old is she again? Wait, my son needs to hear her reading. Really like getting him to read and stuff. And yeah, I think that will encourage hearing another child read and stuff. So, oh my God, yes, I definitely want to buy the books. I'm like,
I think you're gonna hate me. I have a few negative feedback, and so that where she clearly she took the hat off, but the scene show her with the hat, right? There was a girl at the end when the show before it was the end. You say next time I'm gonna blank, right? She meant to say next time I'm gonna wear my hat so she can be out with her friends. So those are the few things I noticed.
So the writing was well done. The rhyme was well done.
So to kick things off, my first question to everyone is, why do we often make decisions to impress others or boost self-esteem?
I think I guess the answer can kind of be found in your question too. To boost self-esteem, kind of comes as a reflection of yourself, how you see yourself, and maybe some insecurities that you might have. So you're looking for approval outside of yourself to give you the okay.
I think it's a matter of maturity. The older you are, the less you seem to care. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this podcast. The more you seem to give a flip as far as what people think of you. I'm in my 40s, late 40s, right? I'm at a point where very few people's opinions matter to me, right? If you're not in that inner circle of mine, you're not my wife, you're not my mom, you're not my best friend. Nothing you say to me, I'll take it as an opinion, right? But I'm not gonna give it 2-second thoughts, right? Because I feel like it's a matter of age. The younger you are, the more sensitive you are to opinions, people's opinion, not realizing that these people are not paying your bill, they're not your mama, they're not, they're not your spouse. Their opinion mean next to nothing, right? The value it has is what you give to it.
I wanted to piggyback on what Danny said. A coworker said to me, if they not feeding you, financing you, or effing you.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't want to curse, Glow. I was like, what can I say on this podcast?
if they not feeding you, financing you, or the other after you, then their opinion shouldn't matter. But I really, the thing about age, we have also spoken in the previous conversations about age, is not the indicator. It's maturity. Maturity.
I was gonna say, I agree with that.
It's really I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I agree also with what Daniel said and what you just said. Maturity. I mean, because sometimes maturity doesn't come with age. You kind of got to grow through things and kind of learn on your own. So hopefully, if we do reach that by a certain age, that would be great. But yeah, I agree, maturity.
Just looking at it from a educational standpoint, and I've worked in two distinctly different environments now. I've worked in a Title I school where there was a high poverty rate. And now I'm having my first experience of working with children who are not in poverty. So impressing people is on a whole nother level. When I worked with economically disadvantaged children, I noticed that their outward appearance meant everything to their self-esteem, everything. They got on the Jordans and the lashes and the weaves, and like in the lower economic school that I worked in, like everything was about external validation. They are not wearing their hats in the winter because they want you to see them $300 micro braids. They are not. But then I can now put that up against where I work currently in a school that is not receiving Title I funding, and these kids do not give a care. They are more intrinsically motivated. They're not as motivated about external appearances. That I don't see a lot of bullying based on looks, which I saw a lot in the other school. Like these children are in a whole nother, they are really academically focused. And it is more about how you read or where you vacation at and things like that, not how you look. So, the book would resonate differently with different demographics of children, because some children will be like, you crazy out your head, you better put that hat on, it's cold. But then if you look at a child who has gotten their hair done and their mom paid $300 for them to get their hair done, or they're going to get a beating when their braids are ashy, they're not the ones that are going to wear the hat, because their external validation means so much more. So yeah, just from a teaching perspective, now that I've been able to work in different environments, children respond differently to the environment, that the culture of the environment that they're in.
Mhm. Another thing I saw is, why do we need that's external validation? I feel like, as far as children, I don't have any kids. I wish I did, but I had the opportunity to spoil plenty of kids, right? And I feel like the at home, we need to give them that validation. So as they grow older, they don't seek it from external sources, right? Where if you, no matter your financial situation, love is cheap, right? You can give your kids plenty of love, where they will not need it when they grow older to seek it from. And I feel like that's the one thing my mom did for me. My mom always made me feel validated. Like, we were poor, we didn't have much, but we had plenty of love. And she always made me feel seen. My opinion mattered. She would listen to me. And I had some crazy ideas too when I was a kid, man. I probably drove that woman crazy, okay, as a middle schooler. But she always made me feel seen and listened to and loved. And I feel as I got older, once I was able to find my footing, socially, that helped with my confidence, because I had a sense what it felt like to be seen and heard and loved.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comment or reply to that question? That really came up to me when I was thinking about going back to the pretty stuff, why it was so important for her friends to see that, for her to show that off. It made me really reflect and think, why would a kid do that? I know what an adult would do that, but really thinking about what Daniel said, maybe she's not getting at home that kind of love and validation that would make her keep her hat on. So that was a very good point. Thank you. I'm going to play a short TikTok for you guys leading into the next topic.
All right, it's very cold now. Are you sure you want to go inside in the water?
Yeah.
Henry, you need to think before you do. Okay? How you think? You look at mommy. Do you understand that it's very cold now?
Yeah.
Look at mommy. It will be very cold in your legs, on your feet. It's too cold. It will hurt your feet. Okay? You know that before you go to the water, okay?
Yeah.
And when you get cold on your feet, don't cry for me. Do you understand? Because I already told you it is super, 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 super cold. You got it?
Yeah. I'm going in the water. Wow.
Now, you sure, right? You can check with your feet first.
Yeah.
You still want to go to the in the water?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes. Yes.
Don't go that deep. It's deep over there.
I'm cold. I'm shivering. Mommy. Oh.
How do you feel?
Cold.
You hurt?
Yes.
Now, do you understand when mommy say it's cold? It's too cold, it will hurt you. Mommy. All right.
I laughed a little. I was sad a little. So it's human nature to ignore advice, make the same mistakes over and over, and take risks. Why do some people feel the need to mess around and find out?
I think that's just some people's personalities. Cause that kid in the video is Ava and Tori. You can tell them all day, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Don't touch it. Ava will come stand next to the stove and tell me, "Mom, that stove hot. Yeah, it's hot." But she just gotta touch it. She can't help herself. And after she touched it, I'll be like, "See, I told you it was hot, right?" She says, "Yeah," but she don't touch it no more. So I guess that some kids got to learn through feeling. I think that's just their personalities. But because Zoe, you can tell her, don't do that, and she don't do it. Maybe it could be because she's a little older too. She was the same when she was little, so I'm not sure.
I feel like a big part of it. It depends which kid is it. If it's their first kids, some parents tend to be a little bit too protective with their first kid. Maybe on the second or third kid, they just tell them to just go do whatever, right? Just don't die, right? And I feel like sometimes when kids wanna do the things we do, it's an opportunity for parents to get involved. If I was her, I would sit next to him and trying to show him and get in the water with him, and because he really want to experience it. No matter how much you tell him don't do it, he doesn't have a mental model of what cold water feel like, right? Or cold water, pond water feel like. He's trying to experiment. He's trying to build his little mental model of the world. Just seeing him know is not sufficient. Is to get down with him, have him touch it first with his hand and say, you see, it's cold. And then if he still want to put his little feet in there, just have him put one feet in and just kind of, again, an opportunity to help him build his mental model of the world with you being a teacher instead of saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, without him, having firsthand experience of what it feel like. And then telling him, if something bad happened, don't come running to mommy. That is a bad thing because kids need to feel like they can always depend on their parents. Never feel, because again, that's when predators move in and they play on that because they know your kids are afraid to go tell you when bad things are happening to them. Because the kid's gonna remember, oh, if I tell mommy this bad thing is going on, mommy gonna be mad at me, not gonna be welcoming for me to tell mommy what's going on, right? You don't want to start teaching your kids to be afraid of you and not depending on you when things are hurting. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I've seen too many kids where they afraid of their parent, and that is not a good thing.
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Okay, I saw the TikTok and I had to keep watching it over and over and over and over. partially because I'm a TikTok junkie. But I actually went and read the comments of other parents and other people who have children, right? And a lot of people were upset with the mom. You should have let him put his hand in first. You should have let him do this first. Listen, every kid is different. You could have the same mama and the same daddy and just make different decisions. The reason why I kept watching it over and over is because I wanted to see the look on the kid's face. That kid was so determined to get in that water. Even if she would have gotten that water with him, he was still getting in that water. And I don't feel like she made it so that he would be afraid of her. I thought it built a trusting relationship. I told you something and you didn't trust me. You went ahead and did it. But now you have gained real world experience. You have gained an experience that you won't forget. Now, she was never negative. She was like, check your feet. As a mother, she was teaching, check your feet. How do your feet feel? She was like, I told you. I told you. Because how does this play out later? How does this play out later? That teenager, when you be like, don't date him. Don't date him. But you never built that trust for your parent. Your parent didn't give you the space to F around and find out. You know, that was a safe situation where that mother let him go on and find out. Go on, do it. Go on and do it. He was safe. There was no threat of harm or danger. She was right there. She was with him. And then she reminded him, I told you it was super, super cold. And even at the end, she kind of like followed it up with, I told you, that it was cold. And the next time I tell you something, you will believe me. Because at the end of the day, most parents, not all, most parents have the highest interest of their child at heart. You don't want to see your child hurt. So a lot of parents are scared. Like you said, the first one, you're super, super protective. That second and third one, F around and find out. You go find you go find out. You're going to learn today. But I think because so many kids do not get those safe environments where they can go ahead and make a mistake. It didn't kill you. I got a niece that says, did it kill you though? Did it kill you? He always say that, did it kill you though? And it made every time when I saw that video, it made my niece's voice get in my head. But did it kill him? He was not damaged. Over time, he will learn to trust his mother. She built an environment where I tell you something because I love you and I don't want you to hurt. Now, when you get older, you won't F around and find out, but you will know that there is a healthy place for you to come back to. I told you, baby. I told you. But now that you've learned, that mother, the video ended, but I'm for sure know that mother took him home, took them wet pants off, them wet socks, them wet shoes, warmed his little feet, and reminded him of the lesson that they learned at that water. Because the parenting didn't end because the video ended. Yeah, a lot of children, they just need to F around and find out. They just need to find out.
Gloria, oh wait,
agree
go
with
ahead,
that.
I was just about to say I fully agree. Fully agree. I am a proud parent of the F around and find out. Okay, it works. It really does work. I don't do it all the time. I do it sometimes. But I agree, Gloria. I fully agree.
I'm at the point now. I only have one, so I watch. I feel more comfortable now from all of the knowledge and the wisdom I think I bestowed. You heard me the first time. I'm not about to get possible hypothermia because you don't want to listen, but I will go get the towel and come back with you to the river edge. But I ain't getting in there. Because it does take time. That's also maturity on the parents' part to not be the helicopter, to not always saying no and pulling them back, to let them experience the world, which is hard, especially when they're, to me, that age, I don't know. At that age, I'm still a little iffy because it hurts me more than it hurt them.
I mean, if it's not gonna kill them, I really feel like more Black parents should let their kids be more exploratory. And I feel like we're a little too hard on them where we say no sometimes just because we don't want to put in the effort to be on the ground with them or to, you know, follow them or whatever. We just say no out of convenience when it's not really beneficial to that child. And we have to be intentional about when we say no and why we say no, and try not to say no. Really get on the ground with them, because they are trying to build a mental model of the world. They're learning. They don't know anything. Everything is new to them, and saying no is not constructive to that child's intellect or knowledge or experience or anything. This is why I feel like a lot of Black kids, when they go to school, they're starting out a deficit, because they have not been allowed to explore the world and learn a lot of things and ask questions and feel things. So where there's opportunity for, you know, learning vocabulary, learning new ideas and concept, just from them going through that experience. And then when they start school, they start later and slower, because they have not built a mental model of the world. So no is not very constructive or helpful in the long run.
Danny, I just got to jump in here real quick. I agree.
Go
I
ahead, go ahead.
completely agree with you. I can't hold it. But there's a lot of nuance to that, because you specifically said Black parents, right?
I
I'm a
mean,
Black
I'm
parent.
specifically to my experience. I don't know how
Yeah,
white parents
No,
do things. And
listen, bro, I'm agreeing with you. But I just wanted to say there is a lot of nuance to the Black experience. There is a lot of nuance to why we tell our children no, why we pull them away, and why we do what we do. Because, like I said, I'm experiencing something different now. I have worked with it for a majority of my career with poor Black and brown children for a majority of my career. Now I'm working with wealthy and affluent Black and brown children. Some of those stigmas of no and background schema and scaffolding is still missing even in the affluent children. Where does that come from? That comes from the Black experience in America. You protect your children first for so many reasons. You tell them no. One, we don't have the economic ability to have them learn the hard way a lot of times. We don't have that ability. If that baby got pneumonia or that baby got sick, how many Black mothers could take off from work? How many single parents could take off from work to nurture that fever or whatever because that child went in that water? That's why a lot of parents snatch up their kid and like, no, because we don't have the luxury of always letting our children learn through experience, because we don't have the money. We don't have the financial fortitude to be able to take off 3 to 5 days from work because our child is running a fever, because they had that hands-on experience. So listen, we got to do better as a community, as a culture, in letting our children experience things. We got to stop saying no as much. We do need to let our children develop their vocabulary, develop their mental stamina, build themselves in their content and their character through real world experiences. We got to do that. But also don't neglect the fact that we live in a culture and a society where Black people just don't have the luxury of always effing around and finding out, because those parents have to take off from work. Those parents don't have the ability to, to do those things because they just don't have the economic afforded. They just can't afford it. They can't afford it. So there is a nuance behind why Black parents don't allow their children to have those authentic experiences of their cultural counterparts.
very true. Very true.
I was gonna say that extends as well to when it's not necessarily a financial obligation or time obligation. When you're talking about certain age groups, you still have that mindset, like you said, we are protecting our children in a different way than for those of a certain age group, than those maybe so much now when it comes to certain experiences, because of how we may have to deal with police, the public, things of that nature. Like just being free and being yourself sometimes as a Black person in a certain area could be dangerous. So that's something to think about. But like you were saying, we do need to say no a lot less. That's why I said I would have come back to the river with the towel. It's like, you'll have the experience, but I feel, especially at that age, I would like to have some type of control of the situation so that it's less likely that I would have to take off time from work to nurture a fever because I'm right there to scoop them up and warm them up quickly. So to me, it's also a matter of understanding where your child is and meeting them there in a healthy way. You don't have to comment on that. We said a lot.
I just want to go back and say that as an educator, I used to judge parents pretty harshly on their children's behavior in school until I became a more mature educator and started to realize all the background stuff that I didn't know or wasn't aware of. And like that, I watched that TikTok. I'm not playing. I saw that TikTok a few days ago and I watched it over and over because I just kept looking at the baby's expression. And a lot of people in the comments was telling the mom that she was a bad mom. And then there was a group of people saying that she was a great mom. There's no judgment. She is a mom, period, point blank. She's a mom. And in that moment, that child, if you look at his little face, he was determined he was going to do it. He was going to do it, and there was no stopping him. So, you know, when people be like, I know your mama taught you better than that when they get to school. I know your mama taught you better than that. You don't know. You don't know what they've been taught. And so as a teacher, I've become much more understanding. Now I get mad now because teaching is a stressful job, but I don't know what your mama taught you. And that's why I've been placed in a unique position to where there was no teaching, or I think there was no teaching, to apply the teaching. So that's one thing that we do have to let all children experience is life. As a matter of fact, and I don't know if Latoya, the state standards are the same, they always want us to relate learning in the classroom to real world experiences. And the reason why a lot of children cannot engage with the content being taught in school is because they don't have any real world experience in that topic or that thing. You could ask questions till you blue in the face. They have no real world experience. What that mom did, whether you think it was good, bad, whatever, point blank, she's a mom and her child just gained real world experience. So when he gets in that classroom and the teacher is asking them about temperature change, he is going to be the one to raise the hand and be like, when I was 3, when I was 2, he's going to be the one with that story that the teacher has to stop the lesson and let them get the story out because he has actually had a real world experience. So no judgment. I used to do that a lot, you know, in my earlier years up until recently. I ain't even gonna lie, up until very right now, I'm looking at like parents are doing the best that they can.
Oh, yeah.
They really truly are. And a lot of parents are stressed. A lot of parents are, you know, overwhelmed. And that's why I think the Aurora book series is so instrumental in opening up genuine conversations with your children. Some of them just gonna have to F around and find out. They just gonna have to do it. But the literature does produce a conversation. It helps build schema in a safe way in the house. Hey, why didn't this character listen to Nana? Why? These are conversations you can have with your children in a safe space. But then on other things, they just gonna have to touch that hot pot. They're gonna have to touch it. They just gonna have to do it and learn and F around and find out.
Listen, I knew that as a kid and I still did it. Got to school, took off the hat on the way home because I'm walking with my friends. It's snowing outside, because that's what inspired me in the book. I got cold real quick. If you've ever been in New York in the winter, it's freezing. You a fool for taking off your hat. I put that hat on real quick. I don't care that I look like a boy. I had an ugly hat. It wasn't cute, no fluff on it. It would just look like I'm the garbage man hat. Tuck in all the beads and everything. Just, I'd rather be home, warm. Take it off at school, that's enough. But I learned the hard way because I took it off. That's it.
Net, you brought a whole nother conversation to my mind. Black hair. Just black hair.
That's coming up in the next topic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll move right in. As of March this year, the Crown Act passed in the Senate. This provides a protection for students to access public education regardless of how they wear their hair. The Crown Act stands for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair, and it prohibits racial discrimination based on hair texture and protective styles. Has anyone ever experienced discrimination for how they wear their hair at school, work, or any public places?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and before 97, well, because I joined the military in 97, and I went through a phase. I'm old, okay? I'm probably the oldest person in this group, but anyway, I graduated high school in 91, and I was a very shy, quiet kid because I stuttered. I was skinny. I looked like a lollipop on a good day. I had a big old head. And when I started college, I became a little bit more experimental with my hair. So I grew it out. I had an afro for a while, then I braided. I had cornrows for a while. Then it got long enough. I had box braid. Then I twisted it into dread uh afterwards. So I was just like a bohemian. I thought I had talent. I wanted to be an artist, so I was going around New York with a camera. I was showing everything I see. So, and people will look at me differently when my hair, because to that whole transition, you could see where my people expectations of my level of criminality went up as my hair became more textured, where they will look at me different, where there was more of a suspicious look, because I'll walk into some galleries with my camera and my dreadlock, and they will look at me like, okay, you don't belong here. I was like, dude, I probably know more about the artists in this gallery than you do, right? There was expectations. And when I was about to join the army in 97, I intentionally cut off my hair because I didn't want to go to basic training and be laughed at, right? When I showed up with dreadlock, down to my back, and have people assume all sort of things. So yeah, there is a mindset and expectations, at least back in the day. Now it's probably more, it's less of a stigma based on people wear their hair. But in the 90s, it was big. Your hair was, if you wear your hair the wrong way, you were assumed to be a criminal.
Um, I don't think I've ever experienced any. What was the question again? That my bad.
Have
I
you
had
ever
it. I had to.
experienced any discrimination because of your
Yeah,
hair?
I've never experienced any discrimination because of my hair. In fact, it's always been everybody want to touch it. That's always since I was since we were little. It was always, can I touch it? Can I touch it? I mean, as I got older, I was like, nah, you're not touching my hair. But I think, and most of the time, it depended on who it was. If it was a white person, he'd be like, no, I'm sorry. But if somebody be like, oh yeah, you can touch it. How you get to do that? You answer questions. But yeah, even at the schools and at the job I'm at now, yeah, they always talk about, oh, I love your hair, especially when I wear it out in a big poof, big puffy updo, like my natural hair. They always love it. I've never gotten no bad feedback. Knock on wood on my hair.
I honestly have to say I can definitely see it in my elders. They definitely have had a much harder time than we do now. And because of that, I think I've got the most pushback from my family and friends when it came to hair growing up than I did in school or at work, just because of their experience.
So you saying you got more criticism from the family and friends than you did from everybody else? What?
Yeah, because it was always like, if you wear your hair like this, you're not gonna get a job. So, you gotta perm, you gotta press it out. You have to look a certain way for the job. And while we know that, you're supposed to be presentable, you go on an interview, you're trying to get a corporate job, there's a corporate look. Understandable.
Yeah.
But for the current definition of that, for where I am versus 20 years ago, what that looked like, it's a little different now because it's just, a clean look. You can still have
Yeah.
locks, you can have braids.
Yeah.
It's how you present yourself as well as how you're dressed, not just your hair. Whereas before, it's
Yeah.
like you can have all of that, but if you had braids or locks, you're not getting the job. That's just as bad as saying it's like because of the name on the resume, you're not even going to get looked at.
Okay, so I have a question. It might be a little bit off subject, but do y'all think that because of the time we're in now, do y'all think they want us to wear our hair more natural now than the wigs and stuff? Because I never thought about it until just now. But I work mostly with white people. Like right now I'm the only black woman in office. So you know what I'm saying? So and a lot of times when I don't feel like getting my hair braided or sitting in the chair, I just wear my natural hair, either up in a big poof or curly like Gloria's in her picture. It's either those two. Well, I might get it twisted, but it's always those three hairstyles. And, every time I come in work with my hair like that, my boss is always like, "Oh my God, I love your hair." You know what I'm saying? We do get clients that come in and they'll say the same thing. And I never thought about it, but do y'all think, when you're working in a predominantly white area, do you think they would prefer for you to wear your hair natural like that now rather than, the wigs?
I'm gonna let Lucy comment. I'm not sure if it's a reply.
Oh, I didn't even see her.
Go
What she
ahead.
got here?
Her hand is raised. Go ahead, Lucy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a child of the 70s. So I've had afros, I've had beads, I've had braids, I've had weave, I've had everything, the perm, all that, and dreads, non-dreads, back to dreads. And I've never had an issue with my hair in the workplace. I've been in professional environments, teaching, business, corporate, and my hair was never an issue. But I've also, in those environments, it was predominantly black.
Oh, okay.
You see, I worked for Verizon. My office was predominantly black. As for school, even when I was in New York and teaching in New York and teaching down here, I was in a low socioeconomic setting, and it was predominantly browns and black. Even now, it's predominantly, and my hair was never an issue. But I wonder, had I been on the other side of that spectrum where it was a more mixed environment, I don't know. Even like encountering, my Caucasian counterparts, I've never had an issue. Now they do ask, what can they touch and how did you get it like that? And, those kind of things, but never had an issue with it. And Daniel, is that your name? You're not the oldest in the group. I had to laugh when you said that. But anyway. But no,
I'm
it's
just
nice.
saying, everybody baby face looking. I'm like, wait a minute.
I do have a baby face, but I'm about 10, maybe 11 years older than you.
Oh,
But but no, I'm glad to be here. Glad I could make it. I missed the story because I was driving 90 miles an hour to make it home so I could get on the call. But Libby read the story again today.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at the recording, listen to my baby read. But good to see y'all. And I chimed in. I had to come out the room because the TV's on and it's shaking the entire house. But anyway, I'll be here and I'll be back on mute. There you go.
Thank you.
it
Go ahead, Dan.
a lot of the w- a lot of the discrimination, I think, is subtle because my wife, she worked for a medical hospital. They're also a teaching hospital, and she intentionally grew out her hair because if you see my wife, she has a mohawk. Okay, that's what I fell in love with when I met her because I was like, anybody who had the confidence to rock a mohawk, I want to be next to you. I don't care what you do, I want to be next to that energy, right? And she intentionally grew out her hair before she applied for the job that she has now because she had a vibe that they were gonna, look at her some kind of way. She go out her hair, she wore it differently, so she would go to the job interview, and she kept it that way for about a year. And once she on the place, she go back to her mohawk. Now she got her mohawk. The sides are clean, and she kind of twisted the top, and it's cute on her, right? But and then she stepped in a couple interviews, and she was telling me how someone they interviews that was really well qualified, because the person hair was a little too black, and she didn't get hired. She heard one of the hiring managers saying that, like literally they were assigning, like that black women energy to that woman when in the interview she didn't present none of that, right? Because of her hair, right? Because they do make these assumptions. I'm telling you, we don't. Maybe now it's worse because they go on your LinkedIn, they could see your pictures and stuff. You're probably getting denied for jobs and opportunity you're not even aware of because of their assuming about your hair. Where they are employers, a lot of them are dying now because they're old, right? They're exiting, right? That do have these negative assumptions about black hair, and it's unfair. Like, I cannot wait for when I retire so I could go out my dreadlock. You know what I mean? I cannot wait because I know right now in my field there's not too many people I see around me as engineers who has dreadlock, and I'm afraid if I let my hair go on and wear my dread, people are gonna assume I'm less, I'm less technical or proficient as my coworkers. So I don't want to risk it. So I wear low, and I'm keeping it clean. Maybe once I take over, then I'll go in like my wife, when she went back to her mohawk.
Hello?
You hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, okay. I was talking that whole time. But I was saying, Daniel, if you don't mind me asking, how long ago was that when your wife went on an interview and overheard them, saying that stuff
It was
about her
about 2
hair?
years ago. It was about 2 years ago.
You said 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was recent. Yeah, I don't know if you see my wife. She rock a mohawk, and yeah, it was about 2 years ago. Where literally she was in a job interview. She said, and I did these group interviews, and this woman, she made it to a couple of the levels, and then one of her old boss was just old white woman, very very conservative, and pretty much the hair thing bothered her. Where there was no mention in the application that your hair had to be, short and cute, whatever, right? But
Yeah.
the hair was the main reason that they rejected her.
Wow.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Hey guys. Hey Annette, this is John. How you doing?
Hey John.
Hi John.
Hey guys, how are you? I just wanted to add to the point of the gentleman that was speaking just now. It's so funny that I'm overhearing this, and I'm not involved in this at all. I was just washing the fish tank, and I'm listening to it. And it so happens, and I wanted to share this with you guys because I took a course last week, and I worked for a top 5, one of the biggest financial companies in the country. I worked for Citigroup. And believe it or not, in that course, it was about code of ethics and discrimination laws and whatnot. And they're pushing, and I'm saying this because if one of the top 5 banks is going in this direction, then all the other smaller companies below them, as far as, income and wealth and all that good stuff, I believe they're all going in the same direction, or they have to by law. And it seems that we cannot now discriminate against anyone, regardless of race. That's always been the case, but now about gender and gender identification and all of that. So if you wish to go dressed up in your Wakanda outfit, they can't say anything. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm sorry. And if you have a gender identity thing where you wanted to dress up as a female and you were born as a male, they cannot discriminate you. They cannot retaliate, and they cannot make it difficult for you to work, regardless of how you feel as a person or how you identify yourself. So if you wanted to wear dreadlocks, more power to you, and they will not be able to say anything. So I just happened to throw that out there because this is the way the big companies are moving right now for 2023. So hopefully, what you're probably experiencing now, where you're at now, hopefully that'll change in the new year. Hopefully. Just wanted to throw that out there and share with you guys.
Thank you, John. Go ahead, Gloria.
No, now that John said that, when was the Crown Act passed? Now that he said that he's
It's,
just doing that
yeah,
training
it's March.
this year. Right. Okay. So when you originally asked the question, have you ever been, discriminated against because of your hair? Some things are overt and some things are covert. So I too have military experience and background. And my hair was never really long, but there was a military regulation back in 1997, 98. I got out in 2001. I got out in 2001. So back in 1997, when I joined the military, the rule was your hair as a female had to be above the collar. It could never touch the collar, right? So if I got braids in my hair, of course, when you wear braids, you need to wear a bigger headgear to fit your braids under the hat, but your hair could never touch your collar. I specifically remember having a hairdo that my hair just grazed the top of my collar, and I got in trouble. But then my white and Hispanic counterparts who had these long real hair, long hair, and they would wear those buns, the low bun in the back, because you have to have the hat fit on. When their hair touched their collar, it was like it was not a big deal. But I remember being reprimanded by my first sergeant and my squad leader about my hair touching my collar. And I'm like, yo, what about these girls with these big buns? Whether my hair was natural or not, real hair or not, the fact that their hair was touching their collar and my hair was touching that collar, but I was reprimanded. So then I don't know if anybody knows, but the military has now changed the hair thing about, how men and women can wear their hair. The regulations have changed over time. But yeah, so that was one time where I was directly discriminated against. I personally went from wearing relaxed hair for many, 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 many years. When I started transitioning into natural hair, it was covertly done, but I felt very discriminated against, very much. When I went from straight silky hair, having to get it relaxed every 5 to 6 weeks, you don't want your roots to show, the curly hair, or back then we were calling it nappy, always consistently perming my hair, because I really felt covertly that I was being treated different. And one coworker, when I finally went natural, wearing a braid out, she was like, what is this look called? Is that called the nappy look? I'm like, nappy is derogatory now. She didn't know. She really didn't know. And I was like, no offense, no harm, no foul taken. Nappy is derogatory in a lot of people's books. I'm like, this is called a braid out. I braided my hair, and that's where the crinkles came from, and I let it out. So now that I'm fully natural, been natural for many years now, I feel like I'm still treated differently, but not in a negative way. People look at me as the jolly, eclectic Black girl who smiles all the time. And, my hair bounces when I walk. I don't feel like they feel threatened or intimidated. But if I put in box braids, if I get my hair box braided, I am treated differently.
Or cornrows.
And I don't even wear cornrows for that specific purpose. I do not. You won't never catch me in cornrows. You never catch me in cornrows. When I even, I wash my hair, I don't even have my camera on because my hair is in a 2-strand twist, like a protective style, till it dries. You don't ever catch me outside in my 2-strand twist or anything, but I can tell you, I wear a weekend wig. I wear a wig on the weekend to go grocery shopping. I am treated so differently when I'm wearing my wig, my curly hair, and definitely treated differently when I have relaxed straight hair. I have found that men are attracted to me, like different groups of men. It's so funny because when my hair is more natural, I am a white man, Hispanic man magnet. And Black men seem to be turned off by the natural hair. But then, flip it, it's a whole different demographic of men. When I'm wearing a wig, they seem, less established, less professional. And I'm just like, oh, wow. But it's not really blatant. It's like those little subtle, it's covert, not overt. So I do feel the discrimination, it's very subtle. And it's so hard for people to notice or recognize, but I am definitely treated differently when my hair looks different, especially now, 2022. If I put some box braids in my hair, I am treated differently than when I'm wearing my naturally curly hair.
Go ahead, Destiny.
What was I say? Gloria, dang it, nabbit. Oh, are you always smiling and stuff? Like when people see you, when you got your box braids in and all that stuff, are you always smiling? See, hear me?
I think she.
Yeah, I heard you. Yes. My natural default is smiling, laughing. I speak to everybody. You know, even when I went to Brooklyn, I just recently came back from Brooklyn, and literally, like, the world just opens up to me because I'm always smiling. But I get a different response when my hair is box braided.
Okay, so try this. Try looking angry with each of those styles and see what happened then. Because that's
Oh, she
my
wanted to
natural
run an
face.
experiment.
Me, like, I don't be angry, but my natural looks angry. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody always, people, how people always stop. What you upset about? Nothing. I'm just, grocery shopping, braiding hair, doing whatever I gotta do. And so, but I feel it always seems like they treat me the same no matter what. But it could be because I'm not smiling. But I don't know. But it always seems like it's same because I wear my hair all. Oh my god. I walked in and had stuff sticking out of my hair. But yeah, try look at me and see if they treat you that way. Because they probably be like, oh, she's so nice. Yeah, try look at me.
It's not my natural default. Like, mean is just not my natural
try
default.
It. What they call it? They call it a resting bitch
The
face.
resting bitch face, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta try that. Just be like, when you in the grocery, especially in the grocery store, when you don't feel like being bothered with people, just be looking like this. Like focus, like,
Oh,
I gotta get this done.
She has the opposite problem. I think she's stuck in a happy mode all the time.
You gotta try it and see what their reaction is then. I bet you they won't be saying nothing. Cause they be like, I don't know, she's gonna punch me in the face or she gonna smile at me.
And that's the thing, like, it won't even come across natural for me. It's just the fact that I have noticed very subtle differences when I look stereotypically Black versus, what is acceptably Black on TV. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I'm treated different. You know what TV Black looks like versus everyday Black? There's a big difference. So when I feel like I look TV Black, people respond to, they like, oh, hi, your hair is so cute. Can I touch your hair? Oh my gosh, are you mixed? Are you not, like, those are the questions I
hate
get.
that question. I really hate that question.
They look at the hair and they're like, are you mixed? Yeah, I always say yes too. I always say yes. And they'll be like, with what?
Black.
I don't know.
Shoot. And I'm like, black and wait a minute, black. And then they be like, what?
Black and black and black.
Black and blackity black. And it's so funny to see the reaction when I say that, yes, I'm mixed. And they're like, oh, like, oh yeah, I knew it. With what? And I'm like, black and black. And then it's like, oh, you trying to be a smart ass? No, because when you look TV Black with the curly hair, because there are acceptable hairstyles on TV.
Yep.
Unless you're watching a predominantly Black cast, and even with that, you see a lot of wigs and stuff. But when you have like the curly hair and it can't be, it's a certain kind of curly hair. It's a certain kind of curly hair that is treated differently than the other curly hair. But yeah, I have experienced, just to answer Net's question, I have experienced it. And it wasn't so blatant like I lost a job opportunity, but my coworkers definitely treated me differently, had more questions. With the braids, it's like I was treated like less educated, in certain spaces. Like, they didn't feel like I was as smart. And then I would even get comments like, oh my God, you read so well. Bitch, what? Did you tell me I read?
I've gotten that as well.
That's how you start a fight right there. Say those words to me.
Or, oh my gosh, you speak so articulately. Bitch, what? I mean, that's when all the hood comes out. What did you just say to me? When I have the braids in, there is a lesser expectation for professionalism, intellect. I just feel it very strongly, not with people who have been working with me for the past 15 years, but the people that come in for professional developments. They're so shocked when, I'm good at my craft. I'm able to articulate my craft very well. And, I present data very well. And when I do that in braids, I'm treated way differently than when I have my naturally curly hair out.
Okay, but so in those of you who work with a lot of white people, do y'all feel like
Wait. I got a recommendation for Gloria. You ready to hear it? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, Gloria, go get box braids and walk around with the resting bitch face for a month and collect data.
I want to see the
Oh my
cornrows.
God. You're a bunch of
I want to see the
scientists.
set it off cornrows.
The
oh
cornrows.
not the set it
Yeah,
off cornrows.
Yeah.
get
Come
the
on, this is
set it off
beautiful.
cornrows and
Yeah.
resting bitch face for the next month and
Oh
collect
my
data.
God, Gloria, they're setting you up, Glow. Don't do
I
it, Glow.
can't even
Don't
do
do it.
it. I
They're
can't
setting
even
you
do
up.
it. I
It's a
can't even do
trap.
it.
It's a
And
trap.
you know
It's a
what?
trap.
Y'all just, it goes back to what Latoya was saying earlier. You know, like your self-esteem should be to a point where you don't care what people think. I gotta recheck myself on that. I gotta check myself on that. I do not feel comfortable walking around in cornrows. Like that is, it may be a self-esteem thing, but I can't do it. I can't wear my 2-strand twist in public. My hair will be soaking wet, and I will take my 2-strand twist out it with soaking wet hair just so that I don't walk out in public with my protective styles in. Like
no.
y'all are really making me reevaluate, you know, my own self-esteem, because that's why I bought a weekend wig. I wear a wig on the weekend to go grocery shopping, so I don't wear a bonnet in public. I will put a wig on. Toya got the
You
laugh
said no
emoji.
to the bonnet. Oh my God.
Can I,
I be
I'm
coming
saying
out the house looking all
I'm
kind of weird.
comfortable with straight hair, curly hair, dreaded
Yeah.
hair, braided hair. I don't
But
care.
I really feel like black hair is criminalized. If I go there, you can see all the memes and everything on social media. I feel very self-conscious going in the store with a bonnet on, especially when students spot me.
Not
A student was like, "Miss Brown, that's you with a bonnet?" I snatched that thing off my head so fast. I don't even know why. And you know, because it's criminalized. My bonnet automatically, for some reason, when people look at me, my bonnet automatically takes away my educational experience, the degrees that I've gotten throughout my life. People look at me and be like, "You just can't be smart with that bonnet on your head."
Oh no,
And
me
so
and my kids had walked in Walmart with the bonnet on. One black lady was like, "Oh, y'all got the whole set." Yes, sir, Bob. I got all the colors.
but I don't know why. I don't know how other women feel wearing protective styles. And I don't mean my protective styles are not cute. They're just like people call them Sealy braids, Dookie braids, you know, like that. I do not feel comfortable in public like that. And it's a thing, you know, the book going back to her wanting to show off this beautiful hair, you know, wanting to show it off when my hair looks nice. Oh, I don't want to put a hat on neither. I want everybody to see my juicy, luscious curls. You know, I want everybody to see it. But going back to being treated differently, I can honestly, truthfully say, yes, I am treated differently. You guys are probably too, but don't notice it because it's very subtle. You probably are treated differently. People probably know she did not come out the house with that bonnet on her head. You know, those type of things. And I'm very sensitive. I can hear, my hearing is very good. When I can hear things like that very well.
And I can ignore very well too. I walk right by you with my big old bonnet on my head. I be right at the airport with the big jumbo one. You see this one? Look at it.
Oh, Destiny.
Be right at the airport, just like that. Got my headphones on.
I think
I can care less.
Destiny is woke. She have arrived. Oh,
I
can
have
care
worked
less.
around every race. I've experienced it on both ends. It's definitely covert. When you have been working somewhere for a long period of time, you get more comfortable, especially when you of a certain age, your confidence is built up and you find your time and your space to be more yourself. Looking at reflecting back to the book and taking in from everything that was said, I definitely feel like there's still a lot more work to be done to ensure that our kids are confident in that way, for us to get to a point where we are comfortable wearing our dookie braids out, because that is our natural hair, that's our protective style. There's no other cultures who wear their hair out, have to hide it, and go through what we're going through have to have a law passed, so they're not discriminated against. When you have other races wearing our hairstyles, they're more accepted than we are. So that's definitely something as a culture and as a race, a human race, that we definitely need to improve upon. And it's felt so deeply for us because we have that history that is still affecting us today. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could see like a decade ago versus now, America is still changing. I did I the transition in the hairstyle to me by Black women is just amazing, right? It's just amazing that Black women has just taken ownership of their own hair and their own style, and they pretty much like, we don't care anymore. We're just gonna do our hair the way we want to, and you can see how America is still young. It's still growing. We're still transitioning. We're still becoming more accepting. The one country that claimed to be, land of the free, right? It's still not truly free in all the ways it can be free.
I feel like we have a long way. If we're still talking about freedom of just hair, we have so much further to go because there are so many other things. I wouldn't say more important, it's all important, but we're still experiencing the same racism that our forefathers felt in so many ways, same discriminations. It's just a bit quieter now, depending on the state you're in, because some are not so quiet at all. Did you want to
The
say
way
something, Lucy? Yeah,
oh,
Lucy.
Lucy
All right.
speaking. Sorry.
Go ahead, Lucy.
Not just hairstyles. Going back to names still. I heard Toya's husband saying about how they can't discriminate against sex, name, how you dress. It still happens. Name still means a lot nowadays, and y'all know it as well as I do. You can't walk around, and as Black people, we choose certain names for our kids so that when they go out in society, they can probably get that job and get that scholarship and get that, because when they see the name, they're not automatically gonna think, "Oh, hood rat. We're not welcoming that into this, area or whatever," because it still happens. So it's not just hairstyles, and they to pass a law for Black people to be afforded the ability to wear their natural hair. That says a lot in 2022. So what, they're going to pass a law now where I can name my kid Rainbow Sunbeam and they can get a job not based on their name? If that's the case, take all that off the application and just ask me for my qualifications, because that's what you're supposed to be hiring me for. Not based on my name and not based on my race. So we got a long way to go. Okay, my rant is over.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I wanted to say, someone mentioned that how this is important for kiddos because the kids, they watching us, and they need that sense of confidence in themselves from their, to think that their appearance is, being natural is beautiful, that they don't have to perm their hair and be chemically burned, so that they are accepted and loved into the world, and then they have to, especially the one thing is the kids are struggling with the clothing, because I feel like a lot of parents, buy their kids like expensive clothes for no reason. They're gonna go out of that thing, but why are you trying to dress them like little models? Just buy them because I feel like then the kids, when they get comment, they think it's just because they look nice instead of because they are good people. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, we need to give them back to about character and less about appearance.
It makes perfect sense. I never dressed my kids like that. They got what mommy could afford, even though she could afford the higher end. Oh no, we shop the clearance rack, Walmart, and all that, because I think your character, there's a lot more than what you're wearing on the outside.
I grew up poor and I had a lot of hand-me-down from my brother who was older, and I didn't know I was poor for. I didn't know I was poor for a long time. I just thought it was normal for for the younger kid to get the hand me down from the older kid.
Go ahead, Gloria.
There was a couple of points. I raised 3 boys, predominantly single parent, men in, men out, whatever. But I noticed that my children were treated differently. So when they had low haircut the whole time they were young, I never let them grow their hair out, never did cornrows, locks, nothing like that. So from the time that they were under my care, they always got a temp fade. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's very low to the head, lined up or whatever. Because at one point I couldn't even afford to take them to the barbershop, and I bought a pair of clippers and I would shave their head bald on Friday. So by Monday it grew in a little bit to look like they got a haircut at the barbershop, right? So I noticed that in public when my children were smaller, we were treated differently when their hair was like over a summer and I didn't cut it at all and it had grown out. Like people responded to them differently with their haircuts. And then to go back to the names, my children's names are James, Joshua, and Jacob. That was purposefully done because a study was done about the applications and the name. So when we go back to the book, like the little girl not wanting to keep her hat on, we are constantly responding to our culture. So she is responding to the culture that she's in. She wants to show up the hair. She wants to show up, the beautiful beads and the braids because she feels beautiful. I purposefully named my children James, Joshua, and Jacob because they were really synonymous, and it sounds really horrible, but this is what I did. It was really white sounding on paper. James Thurman, Joshua Thurman, their last name didn't even sound black. So and I do believe it had afforded them more opportunities when it comes to looking for jobs, all of that, and them having low haircuts, all that stuff played a part. And of course, when they get old enough to pay for their own hair or whatever, they just let it. I mean, it was just, I'm like, oh Lord, cut your hair. And so me as a mom, Jacob, cut your hair. My oldest is in the military, so he has to keep a haircut. My middle child is on a different path, but even him, I'm like, cut your hair. And they rebelled so strongly, and they're doing it in their own skin. We live in a different time, but when they were little, because of cultural and societal views, I kept my boys low cut, made sure that they were very well spoken, and their names were purposefully given so that I felt that they would have an easier time in our culture and society. I did that purposefully with every intent. I was very intentional on how I named them and why I named them and how I kept their physical appearance. I couldn't afford name brand clothes, couldn't do it. But I always made sure that they were never looking like what TV portrayed as these bad black boys. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They never had the pants sagging, and if they was sagging because they lost their belt, it wasn't like the cool looking sag. It was like your mama bought your pants too big sag. So yeah, I said all of that to say we might not be aware of how we bend to the pressures of society as adults. We think we got this great self-esteem, but there are times when we are all bending to conform to the culture that we are in.
Agreed. I want to make 3 points. For one, I love me some hand-me-downs. Vintage is my thing. I like vintage shopping. And a lot of the quality, because I've worked in fashion, is from the yesteryears. The stuff they make nowadays, just trash. But anyway, going back to what John was talking about, working for the city, we have those same standards as well that do change based on laws. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people don't stand up for their rights. And even though some of these things have been on paper for decades, they were not enforced. So employers were allowed to railroad people based on outward appearance in certain areas because those people didn't know they had the rights. And then some who didn't stand up for themselves because it took a lot more energy to fight back than to just conform. And I've seen that for myself when it came to head wraps. Because normally in most places, a head wrap is not acceptable. Like we do the front twist or the back bun coming from a corporate office. I did that. I never had a problem. If there was, they didn't tell me because I had that resting face. And it's like, if you're not coming to me with something worth my time, you get out of my face. And that wasn't worth my time because it did not take away from what I did. It did not take away my intelligence. I had worked there for a while though as well. So I had already proved myself, so to speak. So everyone knew me. That's just how I chose to have my hair. And it was really because I my hair that day. So I had the wrap on. But coming into different spaces, it was not looked at the same. And I've had to find myself either having to conform or fight back. And I chose to fight back. And a lot of the times it wasn't a big fight because, based on, the company's policy, this is allowed. Or you have to prove that this is not culturally or religiously, a right you're taking away from me. Because then that's a whole other fight that they have to say that you're denying me my cultural or religious right by saying that I can't wear that. Nobody wants that fight. And a lot of times it might be just that. And if they do, give it to them. And now we have these new laws and policies going into effect or already in effect that a lot of people who may feel more comfortable doing that may not be aware of, because we all kind of in the same age group experience the same thing. We feel like we have to present and show up a certain way based on society and based on our work environments. So that's again to say, know your rights and fight back. Because that's also how we continue to build us up as a people and that self-esteem. Because you have a lot of adults that have a lot less self-esteem than the children because of, their history and their experience. The other thing I wanted to say was when it comes to the clothing and how much you put into the outward appearance, going back to the conversations we were having about letting kids experience the world, that's how I tend to shop. We all like to see little girls dressed cute, and I do try to pull those things out for my child, but she likes to be rough and tumble. I'm not going to make her or force her to wear a dress, wear frills. Even if she liked a skirt, I'm still throwing pants on her because I know my child. She's going to run, she's going to play. Her knees will be destroyed if I let her walk out with just a skirt. So that's something else I think parents need to kind of be aware of in trying to let their child experience the world, meeting them where they are. And that's another thing you have to think about, the clothes you're putting on them. I did have a problem with that kid walking around in Crocs. Clearly it was cold. I'm like, why he don't have on boots? Especially if you know your child's the daredevil, I'm going to make sure there's shoes on them. That's going to help them navigate the world a little safer. If they want to step in that water and feel it, take off the shoes, go ahead. Because then I can just take the socks off, put them in the warm shoe. But yeah, making sure that, because as a kid growing up, I was a dirty kid. So I might have been looked at a certain way. Because I like to have fun. I like to climb trees. I like to play in dirt. I was dressed nice before I left the house, but by the time I got anywhere, I was a hot mess. That was me experiencing the world. I got to experience a lot. Though in my child, she's like that. When she was younger, I just carried extra clothes. If we was going somewhere, I really didn't want to be a hot mess. Instead of saying, no, change your shirt, change your pants. Or we're hanging out by the beach, but it's not the summer, I'm going to still let her play in the sand. She might end up in the water, even though it's like 30 degrees. But let you have that experience. I got the socks in my bag. And I got them from, the bargain bin because I'm trying to fund your life experiences, not the name brand clothes. especially at what 2, 3. Who they impressing? Preschool, they can't. I don't see the purpose in it, especially when you're trying to build those life experiences. You want to leave room and finances to do that. Even if it's just something as simple as going to the park, you can have more of an experience in doing that and extending that experience as well by going to other parks, maybe using that for travel, using that for, the food and other things that may be in that area. Someone had their hand up. Did I miss it, Lucy?
I don't see no. Well, sometimes it's okay to dress them up. You know what I'm saying?
We
So I
never
got
said it
3.
was
So every time
okay.
I go buy one, I got to buy the other 2. You know what I'm
We
saying?
didn't
They
say
get
it wasn't
expensive
okay
after
to
a
dress
while.
them up. You can dress
Goodness
them up,
gracious.
but don't. What
Yeah.
we're saying is don't make that their focal point, because a
Oh
lot of
no,
kids seek validation by what they're wearing
no.
instead of can you hold a conversation? Can you read well? you know. So we're not saying you can't dress them up. We're saying don't focus on the clothes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I already do that, so ain't no big deal to me. My
Good
kids, you see
comment.
how my kids be coming to your house.
Jesus, some things look like they escaped the plantation, boy.
But cause they be letting them roll in the dirt, man. Ain't no point in putting all them nice clothes on them just for them to get dirty.
Yeah,
Ain't no point.
yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I have thoroughly enjoyed these conversations, and just like listening to Push Black, listening to everyone's experiences. Um, do you guys ever feel like if you had the option to like exist in a world where, okay, you have to do all the things to, be successful, things like that, fight, whatever. I just feel exhausted. I'm like, I just want to be in a world where like none of this mess has to, like, would you, like, if there was an option, if like Elon Musk or somebody like said, okay, they created another planet where none of that exists, and you can start out like brand new, like, would you choose to, you know what I'm saying? Like, to just not have to deal with it, or is it okay? Like, is it tolerable?
Go ahead, Lucy.
That's a double-edged sword. Have any of you ever seen Handmaid's Tale? That was supposed to be the perfect world, but whose perfect world is it? See, now, if somebody invented this place for us to go, it's going to be a drawback somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not going to be perfect. Struggle makes growth. Struggle makes you learn because there is no learning without some type of struggle taking place. I wish it was a better world, but as for the perfect world, perfect for who? That's my question.
That's
I
good.
just wonder like where all this came from, because the Handmaid's Tale, I studied that in college. That was based on like the dysphoria, and that was really scary. Like the COVID situation really like made me feel, it felt so oppressive, like not being able to walk into a place because you didn't have this vaccine or you had to show this paper, and I'm like, and then I was like, I felt so to call a friend
In and out, Crystal.
about that.
We have a hard time
And she
hearing
said,
you.
oh, they just wonder like, okay, right now in Dominican Republic, they're advising people like who are dark skinned people not to go because they're trying to get rid of all the Haitian immigrants, like, and it's very, very dangerous over there right now. And it's like, really, they're gonna repeat like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, who decided? And the crazy thing is, the president. Not to bring up a completely different topic, but the president, his grandmother was they call it like purifying the race or something. Like each, they want to get lighter and lighter, but it's like the self-hatred. It's like, who started this? Where did it come from? Like, why can't we just coexist? Like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Like, we're doing it to ourselves. We have colorism, and then we have all these different things. Like okay, but I am enjoying the conversation, and yes, I do wear my hair. I might try that experiment myself, but I kind of feel like when you project like your happiness and joy, and people see your confidence, they're gonna like respond to you like no matter what. Like it's like, yes, I'm comfortable, and they respond to the confidence. But if you're feeling like insecure about a certain hairstyle or look, you're gonna it's gonna show, and people will be able to pick up on it. Like I've had days where my hair looked just crazy, and I went to the parent PTO, and the president kind of like, I was the co-president. She kind of like the president kind of like looked at me. She was like almost like, "Are you okay, girl?" Kind of thing. And I just kept it moving. But yeah, it does play a part. It's huge.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Just to answer Crystal's question, and I'm glad Lucy spoke like different for who. I like the fact that she put that spin on it, because as soon as she said that, I was like, yes, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of, constantly having to be so super self-aware all the freaking time. Are you being culturally insensitive to this group? Did you say something that was offensive to that group? Does my look offend you? Does my, my dialect offend you? If I talk too loudly in certain spaces, then I'm the angry Black woman. If I just know what I'm talking about a situation, then I'm perceived a different way. It's tiring. It's exhausting. Literally, when I come home from work, I literally just take off all my clothes, get in the bed, and I'm in bed by like 7 o'clock. I'm knocked out every night before 8 o'clock, 8:30, every night. It's exhausting, the constant feeling of oppression. And so, yeah, idealistically, I would want to live in a world where it didn't effing matter. How light skinned I was, how dark skinned I was, if I got 3C hair or 4C hair, where it didn't matter. I would love to live in a utopian society where the way I look didn't matter. The fact that I could be spitting a straight fact, just a straight fact, but because it came out my Black mouth, because it just came out my Black mouth, you can't respect it on the same level or wavelength as my counterpart. That pisses me. It's tiring to have to overly prove that you're qualified, overly prove that you know what the fuck excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. To know that you know what you're talking about, it's like you fighting for your life every day, and it wears you out in professional spaces. Like Danny's wife having to grow her flipping hair out. This is a professional in every sense of the freaking word, every sense of the word. But you had to grow your hair out so that you could be respected, though you got elemental P's behind your name, every degree, every qualification, every certification. But then you still got to look a certain way. You got to make sure you don't speak too loudly. You got to make sure you use your words in a certain way so that you're respected like other people. It's exhausting. And it comes, and I put this somewhere in the chat or somewhere. It comes from every race. You have to be mindful of your own race. Then, other races. It comes from generations, like different age groups. It comes from everywhere. So when Crystal first asked that question, I was like, heck yes. I wish I was in a situation or an environment where it didn't matter. But then Lucy made a very good point. Perfect for who? Because we're going to have a challenge somewhere. Is it going to be perfect for men? Is it going to be perfect for women? Is it going to be perfect for who is on the top of the hierarchy? How are we going to determine what is the perfect situation? But idealistically, yes, Crystal, yes. I just wish, yes. Tired.
Go ahead, Crystal.
So like again, I was listening to the whole push black thing. They were talking about like how like having farms and things like that. So like you said, we do it to ourselves, and I've experienced that my whole life, especially from people that look like me. And I couldn't understand, like, why do we like this to each other? Like, I don't get it. Like family, everything. It was just so intense. So I just kind of feel like, all right. So we like to, like they were talking about the Grammys. We want to go to spaces where we're not really welcome. Like our stuff is loved. They love the music. They love the dance. They love our style. They love everything about us except us. And they want to take that status and put it on someone else and benefit and copy it. So I'm like, okay, when you say beneficial for who? So my thing is, I worked in corporate. I worked for the government for 18 years, and both I and my mom like experienced things. And I thank God I'm not there anymore. I talk about it with my friend, and she just feels so oppressed. She feels like a weight on her. And I've spoken to other people. They said they broke down crying, like praying, everything. And I'm like, this is crazy that we have to go through this. I'm like, this is not like, is this like? The only thing I would say is, I think us being here having conversations like this, I feel like we should start creating more safe spaces for each other. Like do like the other communities do. If somebody's not being treated right, they cut off, they take their patronage away. They stop funding, they stop, we need to use our voice, we need to speak with our money and our funds, like cancel culture, whatever. So it's like, okay, cancel, but you know what? Take the cues what the other communities are doing. When they didn't like what Kanye said, when they didn't like what Kyrie said, they didn't like, they just so we have a lot of yeah, exactly. Start buying from each other. It may start small, but that's okay because it's okay. Like just I'm working on something right now, and I'm just like, how do I protect? How do I what went on in the past? How do we learn from other people who are us, who have been successful and protected what they had, and were able to pass it on to the next generations and not be looked at as fuel or food for predators, or else you say it. We're very vulnerable, and I feel like we're just giving people too much power. Like I had a guy tell me in a government setting, feel comfortable enough to tell me, oh, well, while my people were doing philosophy and coming up with things, your people were still swinging from the jungle. And I'm sitting there like, is he serious right now? Did he literally just say this to me right now? Right? Why does he feel so comfortable saying these things and said it to other people too? And then said, oh, you got to know who to say it to and things like that. I've had people pick on me about my hair. Oh, you can't wear your hair like this. A Spanish girl and a Caribbean lady, they were like going in on my hair, and I'm like, you can't. They were like, well, you're not going to get the job interview like this, and you have to have your hair like that. And when I had my hair in a natural style, white people were like, oh, my boss is like, oh, it looks nice, or nothing at all, depending on who it was. Other people were like, being friendly, they were like, yeah, girl, no, like, no. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I just throw on my wigs. I really do. Like, I just choose to like learn how to do my own hair, which is why I started purchasing my own hair products. I said, you know what? Everything I'm using, makeup, hair, skin, I'm just going to start selling this stuff. Why should I support and put money in someone else's hand when I can do it myself?
I feel like a lot of the stuff we're fighting against is stereotype. And that comment that about my people were doing philosophy when your people were still swinging, that is a very racist trope comment. Because a lot of people don't know the history of the world. What European know, I'm not trying to go all meta or black supremacist on you guys right now. What people don't really know about the world history is what the European know of the world, they learn from the Africans. They learn from the Egyptians. They learn from the Nigerians. They learn from the Mohan people that were, Arabs that traveled the world and to exchange knowledge and medicines and ways of being. A lot of this stuff they know, they learn from us. When we were building pyramid in Africa, they were still in cave, right? But I don't want to get again all black supremacists, because I feel a lot of it's a lack of knowledge and knowing their history and they're repeating stupid things they hear on TV, on the radio, and the hard part is confronting them when they say these things, because they really think they're speaking from a position of knowledge, but it's a position of stereotype, really, really bad information. I've had this black lady say something to me about Haiti. I'm like, I didn't even know how to talk to her, because I'm like, if you knew your true history of your people, you realize that Haiti could have been Black Wakanda. If on planet Earth, if the French and the American and the Spaniard didn't bankrupt us, right? But people speak from a position of ignorance where you don't even know how to deal with it. It just frustrates you, right? But I feel like a lot of it's come from TV. So somehow, some way, we gotta send all these writers to proper schooling so they're not be spreading these false ideology out there and these bad stereotypes.
Thank you, Daniel. Go ahead, Lucy.
To chime in on what Crystal and Daniel said, Daniel just wrapped it up in a nutshell. It's a lack of knowledge from history. And a lot of the children nowadays, they see the TV and they see what's out there in the world. And if they teach Black history school, it's always about slavery. And it's always Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, and all these other people. No, we got to go further back than that, because these kids don't know their history. They don't know we are the original geniuses. But I'm not gonna do the Black activist thing. I'm gonna refrain from that. But come on now, we know it's historical fact, not fiction, not made up. I wish it was Wakanda forever, but it's not. And as for that comment they made to you, Crystal, I don't know what I'm the type, use my French, I'd have lost my shit. I'd have lost my job. Being honest. Because I speak from the gut. When it comes in my head, it pops out my mouth. So God gave you the grace and wisdom.
Tenure, I could have gotten him in trouble. I should have, but my mind didn't work that way, and I'm always trying to be the good person, but I should have went in on them. And the weird thing was, he would brag on how he loved going to Aruba and how beautiful the women were and how and married guy and everything. I said, well, let's say this to your wife. Let's have a cup, because he would take money out and flip it around in front of me and try to brush up behind me. I'm like, are you serious? Are you out
like Gloria said? Think about it.
He
Gloria
regretted
said,
that.
culture vultures.
Gloria, you can go ahead.
My bad, I was on mute. Oh, y'all got my blood pressure up. God, dog, I'm in here. When I was younger, I never really saw. I never felt like extreme racism. But as I become an adult, I recognize it. I recognize it clearly. As a child, I didn't feel like, oh my God, nobody ever called me a straight out N-word or nothing like that. I never felt I felt it, but I didn't know what it was. I felt something, but I didn't know what it was. But now that I'm an adult, I just, moving forward, with the possibility that I might have mixed grandchildren, I have to really look at these topics that we're talking about very sensitively, because there might be a day or a time where I'm talking to mixed grandchildren, and those mixed grandchildren are going to be juxtaposed against Black children. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a child that's married to a Black woman and a child that is technically married to a white woman. So I'm going to have Black grandchildren and mixed Black grandchildren. And that's going to be a big conversation. That's going to be a conversation in our culture. And yeah, they're all children of God. Yeah. But when they go out as children of God, they're going to be faced with our culture. My light skin, even with my 3 kids, all my 3 kids got the same daddy, but they all 3 different complexions. People think 2 of my kids are mixed, and they're not. They're Black. They think they're mixed. And even their struggle in our culture, just it angers me how they were even treated differently because of their skin complexion. So, I know I'm way off the topic of it's cold outside, put your hat on, but these are I agree with you, Crystal. We need safe spaces to talk about these things, safe spaces to, get this stuff out, and then come up with logical ways because Chris, I'm assuming you put in the chat, I'm assuming that your children are biracial. So these are conversations that we need safe spaces to raise intellectually brilliant children who have clear positive conceptions about their identity, that they don't have to have their head held low. It's just so many. And I think the Aurora series, I don't know if y'all familiar with the other books. I am. Like, the Aurora series brings out so many culturally relevant topics that most Black and brown people identify with. And I think the books are instrumental in introducing topics that adults can talk like this for hours about, even though it's a children's book.
Welcome to the safe space.
Yeah, I just feel like we do need more safe spaces to, collaborate, share, build, even build our brands, like how Crystal was also saying about, we put money into these places that don't love us, that don't respect us. We put our money on our kids' bodies and put these brands on them that are just sending their kids to college and making prisons for hours. I don't want to be the grandparent that'd be like, well, you know what white folks did back in the day, and Black people with biracial grandchildren. It's a real challenge when I think about it. And I'm like, even with them staying with me right now, trying to be even culturally sensitive to her, feeling some type of way or uncomfortable. I love her, and I don't want her to feel uncomfortable in my space where she hears a lot of Black rhetoric. But it's who we are. And if you have children with my son, it's who your kid's gonna be, boo. You're gonna have to get with it. She already know how to do two-strand twist, y'all. She twists out his hair. She moisturizes his hair. So she got to get, I'm like, you gonna have to learn how to use these combs, okay? You gonna have to learn how to use these combs.
Oh. Thank you, Gloria. Go ahead, Chris.
Being here, supporting Aurora, like supporting our businesses, creating spaces, just doing all the things. I'm still learning about Push Black. Certain things I just can't take in certain times. It's like, oh, I don't want to hear about it. And the girl, the lady, get back to the topic. The woman with the child situation, I want to talk on that. I think every parent knows their child. Every situation is different. I mean, it would be cool, like, to see how the response. I liked your Aurora. I liked your what you said, how you take the socks off and then let them put their feet in and then put the socks on. That I like that idea. I like that. And then about the hat, what was it about the hat? We were talking about hair, right? So I'm just trying to like go through all the things, but still keep it on track. I think it's not fair that we have to act a certain way or be afraid or lower our voices or not be fully ourselves, and just, like, yes, there has to be a certain level, but at the same time, we have to, there needs to be a balance.
Can I add something?
You have the last comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Latoya, is it okay if she goes before you, Daniel?
Oops, Daniel.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to say something. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Latoya.
I apologize. I didn't see your hand. I didn't have all the windows open. But I guess I can kind of piggyback off what she was saying. And this is something I kind of wanted to say before, but, I guess my point of view is a little different. I am that type of person that don't give a care. And before my hair came out, I had a big fro and, do all the natural things. And that's just who I am. So, maybe there were some covert feelings or, things said on slide, whatever. I didn't really notice because, I think, like she was saying, like, it's important for us to be proud of who we are and walk in our own light. And I think if we did more of that, as a person or a people, then it shouldn't matter what whomever says. I mean, say what you gotta say. And if they got a little smirk or feel a certain kind of way, you're gonna hear what I have to say and just keep it moving. If you want to, wear your hair, I thought about you, Daniel, when you were saying your locks and everything, and how intelligent you are and your counterparts and all that. I guess to say it in a nice way, screw them. Because that you are an intelligent person, and like you said, your confidence and everything came from home. So if that's something that you want to do, like you said, you didn't want to have that fight, and I understand some people feel that way, but I don't know, it's a personal choice. But me personally, I'm gonna wear my hair however it comes out of my head. So that's just me.
Well, I want to thank you all for all your perspectives and feedback today. It was so rich. I have a lot to go back with on doing some updates on the book and sharing with other parents and caregivers and teachers as well. Again, if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also check out more information about the books on auroraglobal.com. This book, like I said, is still in production. So if you are interested in pre-ordering, just send me an email at aurora.info@gmail.com. Again, I will hope everyone have a great rest of your weekend. I know it's kind of late on a Sunday. And thank you for coming.